Welcome back to Street Beat. We continue our look at the pressing issues of providing emergency food and shelter, and now we have the founder of Do Foundation, Brian O'Neill. It's so good to see you. Welcome.
It's good to see you too. Good morning.
And it's good to see you. And let's talk about the Do Foundation. You started this organization about a year or so ago, and why?
Well, it's been a couple years, but technically, now that we're on paper, 501, it's been about a year, and I started it because of my grandmother. The actual D-O in Do stands for Daisy O'Neill, my late grandmother Daisy. I named it after her because she kind of raised me to be this massive humanitarian. I mean, she was the ultimate humanitarian in my eyes. And I just grew up with, with her in mind, and I figured it's time to give back, to the community, especially starting here in Detroit since it's so rough.
It is. Times are tough.
It all came together with my partners, Kelly Adolph and Nicole Lancaster.
Now, what does Do Foundation do?
Well, we actually try to prevent homelessness. People who are borderline, about to lose their homes and maybe having to live on the streets or sofa to sofa with friends. But our main purpose is to actually get out on the streets and try to provide immediate relief for the people who are currently on the streets.
How did you learn about what people on the street, what's the need there? I mean, how did you get up to speed in trying to address this need in your organization? I know there's others out there as well, but what did you do? Anything in particular?
Yes, other than reading and watching movies. I mean, that's how most people know about homelessness, and they form this perception of how it is from movies.
Right.
I took it a step further and actually turned myself homeless and lived among homeless people. And the first trip was about 2 weeks. And it all evolved around a song that was written called Dreams in Color. But we spent 2 weeks on the streets living with the homeless people and actually talking, befriending many of them, and hearing their stories, without a camera, without a tape recorder, so that we get.
Did they know you were
stories.
there? Did they think you were one of them as you were going through this?
Yes, I had to kind of be an actor, but then I think after the first or second day, I didn't feel like I was acting,
right,
because I felt a part of this group. What
did you learn about homelessness from that experience?
I learned that the perception that most people have is a little off. They assume that if you're on the streets and you're dirty and you're smelly, that you have mental illness, or you're a bum and you're lazy and you don't want to work. Well, it's quite the opposite. The hundreds of people that I met during those 2 weeks, everyone wanted to work. Some of them were working, believe it or not. As bad as they looked, they had jobs.
Well, in fact, you hear about the working poor who are doing this. People don't know this, that they've lost their homes. So in terms of what Do is offering, is it advice on how to hold on to their house, or how to find organizations that can offer them temporary shelter, or what's the goal?
The goal is to really educate and teach them and help them with all aspects of homelessness, before or after homelessness. And that goes from, advice on how to budget, how to keep your property and keep your rental, or the person that's already on the streets, how to get off the streets. Everyone thinks that it starts with getting a job. Well, it's a little bit more than that, because the person that's on the streets, they may be ill, and not mentally ill. So the first thing they need is, a little bit of help, a little bit of medication probably. If they don't have a driver's license, you really can't get a job without some form of ID. So we help with all of that. And like I said earlier, the immediate relief, you taking a person off the streets who hasn't eaten well in a couple of weeks. We try to feed them, clothe them, and,
Now, you are a professional musician. You're a piano player.
Yes.
Just real quickly here, and the homeless issue and how bad, I mean, from your experience being out there and now offering assistance to people out there, how bad is it?
It's very bad. It's very bad. There are people dying every day, and I'm surprised that that's not covered in the media as it should be. But there are people dying every day, and with Michigan having the elements that we have, it can easily drop down to 5 degrees, for a week stretch. There are people who live in vacant homes.
Are there families? Are you seeing more families? What's your experience? More families as opposed to an individual person, or?
Well, you don't see as many families on the streets, because families are usually, some of them have cars and they'll live in the cars.
But they don't.
They keep that silent, or they'll go from friend to friend, and there are very few who are on the streets. And
I know there's so much more to say. Unfortunately, we're out of time here. I want to thank you so much for being here. But if you'd like information on the Do Foundation, visit foundation.net. Brian, I'd like to thank you and all our guests this morning for being here, and we'll see you again next time for more Street Beat.